Now, moving on to the next source. This is Calcutta Review, Volume 5, University of Calcutta from 1846. We're on page 289. I'm going to zoom in. We can start right here. Some of the Brahmins of high caste are black. Many Arabs of pure blood in the middle of Africa are as black as Negroes. The Jews of Portugal and of Cochin are very black, though they do not intermarry with natives. So Calcutta is in India. This is referencing Jews in Cochin. It's referencing Jews in India. It's saying the Jews of Portugal and of Cochin are very black. This is another source from the 1800s. We read earlier the white Jews in India who came from Portugal that were in Cochin. They were called white Jews. So now a source from the same time period is saying the Jews of Portugal and of Cochin are very black. How can Jews be black and white at the same time? Answer: there were two different races of Jews from Portugal, the white ones and the black ones. Further demonstrating that, here's the next book, Charleston Gospel, Messenger and Protestant Episcopal Register from 1824. This is Volume 1, Issue 5. And we're going to be on page 155 right here, it says. This book is kind of funky. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to be right here. This is a first-hand eyewitness in India, the same location we've been talking about as of recently. He says, I allude to the existence of black Jews in the Kukana, or low tract of country between Bombay and Malwan on this coast, in equal or even superior numbers to those in the far southern neighborhood of Cochin, who have for more than a century engaged the attention of the Christian public in Europe. So he's saying he's found black Jews in a part of India, and he's saying they have superior numbers or equal numbers as the black Jews in Cochin. He goes on to say, they have, like the others, rabbis from that division of Jews in Europe called Sephardim or Spaniards. Sephardim is Sephardic. It says Spaniards right after, so that clarifies that. So he's saying, amongst this colony of black Jews that he found, they have, like the others, rabbis from that division of Jews in Europe called Sephardim or Spaniards. In the previous source to this one, we read that it said in Cochin, or it said in India, there were Jews of Portugal who were very black, like the Cochin Jews. So reading this one right after, we can see that there were Sephardic Jews in India that were black, in Cochin, and right here is another colony of Jews that were black. And he says, like the others, they have rabbis from that division of Jews in Europe called Sephardim or Spaniards. They have printed service books also from them, circumstances which, with their possession of all the Old Testament, are sufficiently destructive of the imagination, hastily entertained by some, that they are some of the 10 tribes. So we can clearly read that there were Sephardic Jews, black Sephardic Jews amongst the black Jews in India. There were some in Cochin, and then there were some here in this other colony that this guy found. And he witnessed this with his own eyes. Now, what people will try to do is they'll say, yeah, this colony of Jews were black, but the Sephardic Jews among them were white. I'm going to show you how that's not true. Even though we can see that's not what this is saying. Let's entertain that. This is Sex and Race, Volume 1 by Joel Augustus Rogers. We're going to be right here, page 93. This book was printed weird as well, but we're right here on page 93. It says, in the Sudan, Upper Egypt, and North Africa, there are Jews whose color and features are indistinguishable from Negroes. The Jews outside of Africa retain large numbers of them, their Negroid traits. And then he goes on to say, Fishberg, he's mentioning Fishberg, the author we were just dealing with in the previous sources. He says, Fishberg traces the physical resemblance between the white Jews and the black ones. Speaking of the color prejudice among Jews in India, He says, the white Jews keep aloof and do not associate with their black co-religionists. So when we read in this source that there were black Jews in India and that there were Sephardic Jews among these black Jews, we can logically conclude that this was not a colony of black Jews that had white Jews among them. Because according to historical documentation, the white Jews did not associate with black Jews. They kept to themselves, the black Jews kept to themselves, the white Jews kept to themselves. So obviously these Jews who were Sephardic amongst the black Jews, they were black too. And when you read into the history of culture, and it says that over and over, it makes extreme emphasis on the fact that the white Jews did not associate with the black Jews, and the black Jews did not associate with the white Jews. They had their own synagogues, they had their own towns and cities, and all that. So this is talking about black Sephardic Jews who were living in India amongst black native Jews.